Hello everyone, my name's Daisy Fatemi, my pronouns are they, she, and I got vaginoplasty on May 24th, 2017. Now in 2025, I've been a happy vagina owner for 8 years. What follows is a series of videos that I wish I could have watched before I even started planning my vaginoplasty, in the form of a numbered list of tips, tricks, and things to expect. Let's start off our numbered list with number 0. I am not a medical professional. I'm just a person who got vaginoplasty. And in fact, this video is based on the experiences of a couple people in the United States and Canada who also got vaginoplasty. As great as these videos might be, they're not a substitute for your surgeon's instructions, so please do your best to follow those instructions as closely as you can. Secondly, my goal is to not persuade or dissuade any of you from getting vaginoplasty. It is simply to shed light on a procedure that is very often not described with any degree of accuracy or openness, and to correct some misinformation that I've spread about it in the past. I'm sorry about that, by the way. Turns out you do have to dilate. Ask me how I know. Third, this will cover one-step penile inversion vaginoplasty because it seems to be the most common method, and also because that's what I got. If you have received a 2-step penile inversion vaginoplasty, or you've received a sigmoid colon or peritoneal pull-through vaginoplasty, and your experiences differ at all from those shown in these videos, please let us know down in the comments. Lastly, check the description of this video for any corrections in terms of any factual errors that we might have made. If an especially egregious factual error has been made, we might actually take down the video and re-upload it. So if you come back to this video and find that it is no longer here, go ahead and check the vaginoplasty playlist on our channel. That being said, let's get into it. Vaginoplasty is the creation of a vagina and vulva where there once was none. The resulting vagina can be called a neo-vagina, or it can just be called a vagina. In penile inversion vaginoplasty, the head of the penis becomes the clitoris, the scrotum becomes the labia, the shaft becomes the vagina, and the seminal vesicle and prostate provide lubrication. The testes are discarded. Some notes. First off, your surgeon should be preserving as much of the nerve bundle leading to the head of the penis as possible. A surgeon that does not prioritize your future pleasure in this way is perhaps someone who should not be trusted with it. Also, your labia being made out of scrotal skin means that your labia might react to changes in temperature the way that your scrotal skin does. For instance, they might sag in the heat or tighten a little bit in the cold. Inconsequential. I think it's interesting, but that's just a thing to look out for. Your vagina being made out of skin will mean that it won't absorb things quite as well as a mucous membrane, for instance. Skin and the mucous membrane don't really have the same sort of absorbent properties. So you probably won't be able to get drunk with like vodka tampons, for instance, but don't quote me on that. Also, maybe don't put alcohol in your vagina regardless of whether you were born with it. The use of the fluid from the seminal vesicle and the prostate also are a little bit more alkaline than you would expect of a natal vagina, so look out for that. There's not going to be a cervix at the end of the vagina. It'll kind of just end with a more or less consistent texture all throughout. And because your testes are discarded, you will need an alternative method of getting sex hormones for the rest of your life. If you don't have a gonad hanging out somewhere else in your body, this means either taking estrogen orally or applying onto your skin or injecting into your body the hormones of your choice. Also, if you're planning on making a living human being with your testes, you should probably figure that out before they go into medical waste. Number 2. Penile inversion vaginoplasty requires dilation, which we'll go into more detail about later. Dilation is essentially a process where you hold your vaginal canal open using a hard, cylindrical, medical-grade dildo. It will be done pretty frequently at the start of the recovery process and can be done less frequently as time goes on. Number 3. The creation of what is essentially a brand new body part with externally visible results pretty much guarantees that people are going to have an opinion on how it looks. And that can include you. I think it's okay for you to want to have your vulva look a certain way. Dysphoria is a strong motivator, and the way your vulva looks can reduce your dysphoria significantly. I think you should try to go for a surgeon who has results in general that look like what you're going for. But I don't think that we should be comparing to other people's vulvas. The more often we compare how certain body parts look, the more we start assigning value, like moral value, to the way our bodies look, and that will never serve liberation. That's just something to keep in mind. With that out of the way, let's talk about prep. Number 4, planning can feel overwhelming. Luckily, we're gonna have this little checklist down in the description that'll show you what the first step is, and every step after that, so hopefully it'll feel a little less overwhelming. The first step is to decide on a surgeon based on a variety of factors, including whether or not they take your insurance, where they're located, whether you're satisfied with the work that they've done on other patients, whether or not you trust them, and a couple of other things. See if you can enlist a buddy to help you sort through insurance policies and look through lists of vaginoplasty surgeons. Vaginoplasty is a pretty specialized procedure. There are not a lot of people who do it, and as such, those surgeons' wait lists can be pretty long. We will not be recommending any specific surgeons in this video, nor will we be criticizing any specific surgeons, because honestly, I think every surgeon has their own mix of skill and lived experience, and there's someone out there for everyone. However, if you're looking for a place to start, we will have a list of vaginoplasty surgeons in the description, and if you find any that we've missed, please leave them down in the comments. Number 5. A good amount of insurance companies nowadays will cover vaginoplasty, though you still probably will need to get a letter from one of your providers attesting to your mental fitness for some reason. Obviously, this is demeaning, but with more trans people coming out now than ever before, there's probably a good chance that your provider has already written a letter like this and will hopefully treat it as the formality that it is. Number 6. Vaginoplasty can get out of hand, financially speaking. Even if your insurance covers for the whole surgery, you might still have to pay for the anesthesia bill, and if you're most people, you will probably have to pay for lodging. This brings us to our next point on the checklist. Make sure you have the money for the surgery bill, the anesthesia bill, the bill for the hospital stay, hair removal, food, medications, douches, and laxatives, childcare, your caretaker if you don't have a friend or family member to do it for free, transportation to and from the surgeon's city, including for the caretaker if need be, transportation to and from the post-op and pre-op appointments, transportation to the surgery center, any income that may be lost from taking time off work, and rent for where you currently live, and gas, electricity, or other bills that may come in while you're getting surgery. Last but not least, make sure you have the money for your lodging. Keep in mind that some surgeons will require you to stay in their city to complete post-op appointments, and because a lot of surgeons practice in major metropolitan areas, this could mean that the cost of lodging will end up being high. I've known some people who have just flown back and forth to those appointments, and it ended up being cheaper for them. Me personally, I was just kind of anxious and didn't want to be too far away from my surgeon, so I just stayed there. In any case, just prepare for a long stay if that's what your surgeon requires. Number 7, you'll probably want to schedule at least a couple consultations with the surgeons that you're looking at, where you can then ask them questions about their technique or really anything else you would want to know. At these consultations, you might also be asked a couple questions like your height, weight, and medical history, and you might also be handed an iPad full of a half dozen pictures of vulvas that surgeon has created. It actually has been proven by rigorous medical research that there's no physical way to visually parse any of the vulvas that you will be seeing, because you will invariably spend 100% of your brain energy trying to figure out what the socially appropriate response is to being shown half a dozen vulva pictures on an iPad. Number 8. Whether it's at your consultation or your pre-op appointment, or really any appointment where you're seeing a provider about anything related to vaginoplasty, I think it's always a great idea to have someone with you who can A, take notes, because chances are you might not remember everything that happens, and B, advocate for you if need be. There's always going to be a power dynamic when it comes to seeing a surgeon especially, because they have a lot more sway over you than you have over them, for instance. So having someone to lean on, someone who can reassure you and or advocate for you in your place if need be, I think is always going to be a good idea. Number 9, plan to start getting hair removal done at least a year prior to your surgery date. Your surgeon will hopefully provide you with a diagram that you can then provide to your hair removal technician, and if they don't provide you with a diagram, you should ask for it in the consultation. The hair removal appointment also could be a good place to have an advocate with you. Number 10, if you work, you will have to take at least a little bit of time off. Most likely you will be prescribed narcotics for pain management, so planning for about 3 to 4 weeks for your return to work could be good just to make sure that you come back with a clear head. If your job requires sitting down, you might have to take a little bit more time compared to if your job involves standing up, maybe about 6 weeks as opposed to 4. By the way, it could be good to know what dilation schedule your surgeon will have you on for the first couple months, because a lot of surgeons will have you doing a midday dilation, and because dilation requires you to be half naked for at least 10 minutes, not exactly something you can do at work. So, asking for a reasonable accommodation from your HR department could look like asking for an hour in the middle of your workday to just go home and dilate, or do remote work for a part of your day if possible. Number 11, if you go to college, you will have to take some time off of that as well. If you can't get your surgery scheduled during a break, talk to your accommodations resource center on campus to see what sort of accommodations that they can offer you, which can include note-taking or even being able to attend virtually. Number 12, this is another one about sitting down. Traveling to your surgeon city, if you are traveling a long distance, might be better accomplished by flying rather than having someone drive you, because on average, if you're flying, you will have to be sitting down for a shorter period of time compared to driving. You will, by the way, probably have to get some sort of donut-shaped cushion to be sitting on, because some degree of sitting will be unavoidable. Regardless of what your transit method is, you will have to be sitting down for at least part of your day. The way to minimize the pain and any potential damage to your surgical site is by using one of those cushions. Number 13, you will need a helper of some sort, whether it's a friend or a family member or a volunteer from a mutual aid type organization. You will need someone to help you out with a variety of recovery-related tasks, as well as someone to be your emergency contact while you're in the OR and the rehab center. Some possible tasks for this helper include feeding you, making sure you get to your lodging and to your surgery and to your post-op and other appointments, and also perhaps emptying your catheter bag or giving you a sponge bath. Number 14, if you are signing up to be a helper for your beloved vaginoplasty recipient, here are some things you can give them. Affection, love, care, support, tasty food, patience, reassurance, time to play games or do other stimulating activities, and reminders of home. That being said, now I think we can talk about pre-op. Number 15, if you take estrogen, you'll probably have to stop taking it a couple weeks before your surgery and then return to taking the hormone of your choice after you've been denutted. This is supposed to reduce the chances of you getting a serious blood clot following this surgery, though some surgeons nowadays are opting to let their patients continue on estrogen throughout the entire process. At any rate, if you stop taking estrogen, your body will slowly return to the levels of estrogen and testosterone that you experienced prior to HRT, and then after the surgery, your body will be mostly devoid of sex hormones until you start them again. This lack of sex hormones is pretty similar to menopause and can include such wonderful things as hot flashes. Number 16, any drugs that you take on a regular basis, whether or not they're actually prescribed to you, should be reported to your surgeon with the highest degree of accuracy. Yes, that does include THC. Any drug that you take can have a potential interaction with anesthesia and can have certain consequences for your recovery, and your surgeon should be trusted to know which of those drugs will have what effect. Number 17, at some point before the surgery, whether it's at the pre-op appointment or at the consultation, your surgeon's gonna have to take a look at your junk. If they tell you that you won't need a donor site, that is, that you will not need to have tissue grafted from your leg or your arm in order to make the vagina deep enough, you will, at that very moment in time, have confirmation from a licensed medical professional that you are, in fact, hung. Number 18, chances are your surgeon will not operate on you if you are sick, whether it's with COVID or anything else. So masking a couple of weeks before your surgery is probably a good idea. Even if your surgeon operates on you while you have like a mild cold, even that can make your recovery less than ideal, let's say. I personally had a cold while I was recovering, and I could really feel it every single time I coughed or sneezed. The people in your life ideally should also mask so that you have the lowest possible chance of getting any sort of communicable illness before a surgery date, which in turn gives you the highest chance of making it to your surgery date as planned. Number 19, your surgeon's office will provide you with a packet of information about the surgery prior to the surgery taking place. It will be written in an impersonal tone and will very likely not prepare you for how it'll feel to get the surgery, which is why we're making these videos in the first place. In addition to the packet of information, your surgeon will also give you a laundry list of potential complications. These complications are, of course, rare, and your surgeon should be doing everything in their power to make sure that none of these complications actually happen, but just keep in mind that every surgery carries risk, and every surgery that you undergo willingly is a calculated risk on your part and on the surgeon's part. We will not cover serious complications in this video because, as stated previously, there will be a wealth of information in that list. Number 20. Speaking of pieces of paper that you'll be handed, you'll probably be expected to sign an arbitration agreement before the surgery takes place, which essentially protects your surgeon from standing trial if something goes wrong. You generally can't progress without signing this piece of paper, so just be aware of that. Number 21. You will have to do a colon cleanse the day before the surgery, which can involve drinking copious amounts of the most insipid lemon-flavored water you've ever tasted, and then shitting your brains out like never before. You might also have to do some enemas, which are about as pleasant as they sound. Luckily, this is about the last piece of prep that you'll have to do before you get your surgery. Number 22. This is gonna hurt. Number 23. The hurt will make you stronger. If you can make it through the first day, you can make it through anything. And number 24. If you've never been under anesthesia before, just expect to remember nothing and to suddenly find yourself in the recovery room following your surgery. This concludes part 1 of our video series, the first 24 tips out of 112. In the next video, we'll be covering post-op information. See y'all then. Damn it, what do I say?
That was cute, honestly.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.